Hey everybody, and welcome to Rebuilding Through and After Trauma, a podcast of healing, hope, and growth. And today it is episode 3, and I am delighted to introduce Kerry Rudden. And Kerry Rudden is from Kerry's Healing Hub. So I am going to pass you over now to Kerry. So welcome, Kerry, and thank you so much
Hi,
for coming
Sharon.
on to the podcast. Hi, how are things?
Good, good.
Great. The nerves are kicking in at me. She's drinking my waddy here to beat the band. So Kerry, look at, as I say, this is really what I want from these podcasts. I want, real people, who've gone on a journey, and again, who are healing through their journey. Just again, for anybody who's listening, just there might be just that one nugget of, one little nugget that somebody might take from our journeys, and put it into theirs. There might be somebody struggling at the minute who's listening to these podcasts. And that's the hope. And I know, that you came on for that as well, to give them that again, hope and, growth, that things can change for them. So tell us a little bit about you, Kerry, and tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay. So I'm married with 3 children, and um I'm working as a holistic therapist now at the moment. That wasn't always the case. I was a clerical officer for 14 years, so
Wow, I
it's a
didn't
bit
even
of
know
a
that.
it's a bit of a change. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, life took a different turn. So yeah, so that's probably going back. I suppose if you were talking about my journey, I suppose anxiety would have been a thread through my whole life, I suppose.
Okay.
So when I was a child, I would have been very anxious, worrier all the time, all that kind of thing. And I think I was just known as the warrior in the family, Kerry's just worrying about everyone and whatever. And then as I got older, then the worry kind of escalated, I suppose. Probably in my teenage years, it got a lot worse. When I was around 15, my auntie passed away. And it was around then, looking back, that kind of I started I suppose doing repetitive behavior, which I now know is kind of like OCD. But at the time, the what I suppose I don't even know if people talked about OCD around that when I
Mhm.
was that age. But it was like a control thing where I'd have to do things, a certain amount of times, or I'd have to say my prayers three. It was all like numbers and light switches and all the stereotypical thing you hear about. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. And was
checking
that
the
key, would
locks
you
and
say, to feel safe all the time, or that things were going to be okay? If you did them a number of times, then you were going to be safe, or the people around you were going to be safe?
yeah, it would be me and I suppose everyone around me. And I was kind of good at kind of covering it up. And it was like a
Hmm.
laugh in my house because they're like, oh, like if I was even drying up, like if there was 5 cups, I would only dry 4 of them. So there'd be
Okay.
a cup and a plate left, and they'd be going, why wouldn't you dry them? And I like, it's an odd number, I can't. And they're like,
Okay.
okay. And it was a laugh, like, and even the radio had to be on an even number in the car. And
Okay. Wow.
even though I was buttoning up my top, I'd have to button 4 and I wouldn't button the fifth. It was really now. And then say if I was saying my prayers at night, this is crazy, like, but it sounds crazy. Say the light on my phone would be on, and I'd have to have them said by the time the light went off on my phone, or
Okay.
something
So
bad
it
was going to happen.
escalated to,
It was, yeah.
yeah.
So I suppose I didn't really tell anyone. I used to kind of make a joke out of it myself. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm OCD." Like I make a joke out of it, so they didn't really worry about it, I suppose, because I was so good at joking it. But I'd probably seen something. I was probably on one of the soaps or something of someone that had OCD, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's what I have. That's what it is like." So then I was like, "Okay, right. This is." I suppose when I realized it was something, I was like, "Well, it's not actually part of my personality. I can actually change it."
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
think I stopped doing things one at a time. So I was like, "Right, I'm going to dry 5 cups today." and then nothing bad happened. And then I was like, right, I'll put the radio to 21 today, you know, but it was very gradual. But I
Yeah.
slowly kind of got out of that, I suppose. Um, so then I was like, oh, I'm okay now, like, you know, that's gone. But then I think it kind of evolved into another thing, then I suppose. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like,
So the subconscious attached onto something else.
yes.
You
So I was
fully
like,
let
yeah,
go
no,
of
I'm
that.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so then I suppose kind of in my late teens, early 20s, there was a lot of, it would have turned into kind of light switches and stuff, like checking
Okay.
the lock, all the locks were locked, and, you know, double checking my car was locked, and that kind of thing. Um, and then, like, I think social anxiety kind of came into it a bit as well, where I would
Okay.
have been very anxious. I would appear very confident, but inside I'd be so anxious when I'd be going out. I'd be like, oh, everyone's looking at me. I'd be kind of real paranoid, kind of that sort of anxiety. And I suppose then looking back, I kind of used alcohol to kind of numb all this anxiety. I'd be like, you know, just keep drinking and keep having the crack and everything will be fine. But then the downside of the alcohol was that I would have great crack all weekend, and then during the week, no one would hear from me. I would
Okay.
just be so like I. That's kind of the irrational thoughts started then. So it wasn't more like I was checking things. It was more like I would have irrational thoughts, like, you know, it'd be like over people's safety, but I'd be over the top worried about it. Like, or if I went out, I'd be like, oh, I said this to someone and then I said that. And I'd nearly make up scenarios in my head that didn't happen,
Okay.
even though I'd be like, no, that didn't happen. But then my mind would go, no, it did, it did. And it was all
Okay.
these
So
kind of,
rationally, you were trying to say, okay, you were trying to look at it rationally, but then it was coming in, and it was just again taxing on the mind with all the thoughts.
yeah. So that went on like for a few years. And I just thought it was like, sure, everyone's like that after drink, you know. So everyone, like, oh,
Oh,
I'm in the fear, like, you know.
yeah.
But like when I look back, like Jesus, it wasn't normal, like, you know, because I'd force myself to go into work and I'd be like, okay, I'll be really social now and just get through the day. And then like someone would text me, I was like, I can't text them back. It should be like just come, and then I wouldn't text a load of people back, and it kind of would snowball. And then I was like, oh, I can't contact anyone, and this could go on for a couple of weeks, and I mightn't have a drink then. And then as soon as I'd have a drink, it'll all start again. You know, it was just this cycle of drinking and paranoia, and then I'd feel normal, and then it would just kept happening. But then I suppose when I hit about 25, I said around 25 or 26, that I couldn't sustain this up and down, and it was
Okay.
just I hit the bottom. I feel like I just hit a bottom, and I was like, no, I just can't. This something has to give now. I just can't live like this anymore. It was just like it was torturous, really, because I couldn't even. I felt like I couldn't even be on my own. That was a big thing with
Okay.
my
Is that
thoughts.
fear? Oh, with your thoughts. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was. I was very afraid in the house on my own. That was a big thing. It was like, oh, someone's going to break in, and I couldn't be on my own. But then I realized I was afraid to be on my own with myself, because
Okay.
my thoughts would start at me going, oh, you did this, or worry about this. Oh, you've a pain here. Have you got cancer? You know, all of these
Oh,
worries. And so I'd be always like keeping myself busy then, and I wouldn't like to kind of be on my own and things like that. But it got to a point where I just hit rock bottom, I think, and I just was like, I can't keep up the big front. I can't pretend I'm happy all the time. You know, I
yeah.
just
You're
couldn't do
pulling
it.
up from your socks to do stuff.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Oh,
So then I decided I they do counselling through work, and an email came in. And then I was like, oh God, what's this going to be like? You know, because I'd never been to a counsellor, I suppose, or I didn't know anything about it.
Mm.
And through work, I was kind of a bit cautious because I was like, oh, are they going to be talking about it at work? And the more paranoia came into it. But
Yes, yeah,
anyways,
absolutely, yeah. And that
I had
stops a lot of
no,
people. It stops a lot of people
yeah,
that thought of, well, if somebody finds out, then they're going to know. Because again, we put on that front, we put on that, but there's a vulnerability behind it, and none of us really want to feel that.
yeah,
So it is that thing of, oh God, well, if somebody finds out, I'm better off not to do it just in case somebody finds out and judges me or whatever. So that's huge. That's actually a huge thing that stops people from creating those positive changes in their life.
yeah. Um, so it was free through work. So I just said, look, I'm just going to do it. So I went into my manager and told her, and they give me the time every week to go. Um, but I remember the first session, and I don't even know what I said, but I just felt like this weight was just lifting off me. Um, and really, it was just for someone to listen to you and to go, actually, there's not actually that big wrong with you, Kerry. It's just like you're just, you just have to look at what is causing this heaviness in you, like what
Mm.
is happening in your life causing this. And I suppose it was like my lifestyle and boundaries, like to have more boundaries with my
Hmm.
time and what I was doing, and stop doing everything for everyone else and actually start minding yourself,
Yes,
because that's it
very
just came
important.
down, and it was just small things. She's like, just for one day, don't think about anyone else. Just do something nice for yourself. It's just like someone giving me permission to look after myself, which sounds ridiculous. But it was like, okay, well, she told me I had to, so I have to. And it's like, when you think back now, I'm like, Jesus, like, you know what I mean? But it was, I
But
really,
when you're in it, it's very, very hard to see
yeah,
that, isn't it? It's so hard because again, we grow up sometimes as the people pleaser, or if we do have those, the constant space or the constant thoughts all the time. It is about kind of everybody else. And I think sometimes, just to touch on what you said there about counselors, sometimes we're in our heads so much that we think, oh my God, like, I must be mad, or I'm going mad, or but when somebody says, you know they're just thoughts, and we can change them and stuff like that, it's kind of like, oh my God, actually, I'm okay, and I
yeah,
can be okay, and I can do stuff for myself. I can, create that time or create that space for myself and say no to other people. So it's huge. It
yeah.
is huge. Yeah.
And I suppose the more I kind of talked to her, like I kind of felt like trapped where I was, and I was like, oh, this is it. That's it. This is it. This is just my life. Nothing is ever going to change. That was my mindset. It
Okay.
was nothing's ever going to change. This is it. And when I think back, I just had a negative mindset. Like everything was like,
Was it a stuck
ugh,
feeling?
it was stuck. It was like, and I suppose when we were talking, it was like this personal responsibility came into it for me. It was like, Kerry, you're responsible. You can't blame everyone else for your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can't blame your work. You can't, you need to do something to get out of there, or, to change your life. Um, and then I just got less angry because I felt like I was angry at everybody, and everyone else was at fault. And I just come across all these kind of just situations with kind of angry people. But when I look back now, it's because that's what I was radiating, was anger. And I was attracting all these situations and angry moments because that's the vibe I was on, I suppose.
And we're in that
And that
reactive mode as well. We're not in
really
a
weird.
responsive, because
Yeah,
if we've been chased by a tiger from the minute that we wake up in the morning, and the mind is going, we're going to be more reactive, because we're going to be more on edge. So we're not in responsive. So we can't logically think, okay, well, maybe they didn't mean it that way. It's just a reaction straight away.
yeah, totally reaction. And I remember I just didn't feel reactive. And then I was like, oh God, everyone's actually, there's a lot of nice people working here. Like, and I remember my friend was like, Jesus, you're not as angry as you used to be, Kerry. And she's like, you're just kind of calm or something. And I was just laughing because that's just the way we talk anyway. So we were quite open, like, but then I think I was like, oh my God, things can change. And I started doing, I think I've done so many courses in my life now, but I just started doing different courses. I did a childcare course. I did loads of different kind of courses around then. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to keep doing things until things change and whatever. So
So
I
was
feel
that
like
looking for a way out at that time?
that was looking for a way out. Just, I was like, I just need something else, but I didn't know what it was. I
Yeah.
just didn't know what it was. And I was like, I love children. Maybe it's that. I'll do this course, you know. And then that kind of pulled me out. That kind of did pull me out. And I remember my counselor saying she's like, right, we're going to wrap up here, but you need to keep on this kind of positive vibe.
Mm.
And she said, get a positive book. So I went into the shop and I found this book and it was called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. So I remember I
Oh,
used to read that book on the bus going to the counselling sessions. And it was kind of like the magic book with the gratitude, you know, Rhonda
okay.
Byrne's
Never
book.
heard of that one.
But it was basically you had to everything you had to put out was positive and you couldn't say no or not. So it was like, you know, I'm not gonna have a bad day. You weren't allowed to say that. You're like, I am gonna have a great day. So you had to put everything in that phrase. And I
Yeah.
remember I was just doing it and just like everything was changing when I was just doing this. And when I look back now, that book changed my mindset. And then kind of a load of things started changing in my life, but I didn't realize at the time why it was
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
suppose the department I was in, suddenly I got a transfer before everyone else to another place. And then I got engaged then around that time. And so I changed jobs, got engaged, got married then the year later, had kids, and it just everything started changing really
Oh,
suddenly. Um, so then that was all. I felt like, oh, everything's going great now, and it was all. And then when I got pregnant, then well, early in the pregnancy, I was very nervous at the beginning of the pregnancy, and then very early in the pregnancy, a car reversed into me, and I got knocked to my knees,
oh,
and I feel like that kind of, I don't know, that kind of, like, I remember I cried for about a month. I just couldn't stop crying, even though I was fine. I went into A&E and everything, I was fine. But I just cried and cried for the month. And then all during the pregnancy, I was just on edge, constantly on edge. Um,
fear is it loss of control in it.
yeah. And it was like, oh God, I have to keep this baby safe and me safe now. So all my old patterns of thoughts came in. Oh my God, something bad's going to happen. All of that started
That would be
again.
the root chakra as well. The root
Yeah,
chakra being blocked from the shock, just
yeah,
that shock and going into the protection mode of the baby that was inside. Yeah, so it's
yeah.
powerful, isn't it?
And all the little bits of OCD, like little bits like light switches, little things started again. And then when she was born, then it was like I just got hit by a truck.
Yeah,
That was the feeling, but it was different than anxiety.
yeah,
It was like, well, it was, you know, I was checking her breathing. Is she okay? All of that kind of stuff. But it the added thing really that stood out to me was I was really anxious, but I was numb.
yeah,
So say anything I used to enjoy, I just did not enjoy it anymore. So
yeah.
like I used to love the X Factor every Saturday and I'd be like, oh my God. And my husband would be like, oh, I put on the X Factor for you. And I'd watch it and I'd feel nothing.
You
And
wouldn't,
I
yeah,
was like, oh my God, like, why aren't, and I forgot how to laugh, I think.
yeah.
You know, I was really, it was just like someone took my sense of humor and threw it away. That's what it felt like. So I thought, oh, this is hormones now, a new baby, you know, everything will be
Right.
okay. And then I got pregnant 3 months later with my son. So it's like second pregnancy very quick. So I was like, oh, well, this is more hormones. And I just felt this anxiousness and numb, just totally didn't enjoy anything. And then when he was born, um, it was kind of, I was like, oh, it's just still hormones because, geez, I've had
Okay,
two
so you never
babies so
went to the doctor
close.
for that?
Didn't go to the
No,
doctor
you just
at
thought
all.
it was.
Yeah, I thought, oh, this is just complete hormones. And sure, I'm wreck tired. I'm up every night. Sure, how would I be, you know?
Yeah,
But then when he was 6 months old, it was like, it felt like I hit that rock bottom again the second time. And it was like, but it was like I just was like on my edge all the time. And then I remember one night my husband went football training and I was there with the two kids and the two of them were just crying and crying. And I was just like, oh my God, it's just something hit me. I was like, I can't cope. I just can't cope. So I remember I rang him and then he didn't answer because he was obviously training. So he wouldn't have the phone in his pocket. But I remember
in his
like,
shorts.
hello. So I remember I just kept, I must have rang him about 3 or 4 times, which would be very unlike me. And then I think he must have rang me when he came out and I was like, just get home now, just get home now. And he was like, okay, all right, I'll come home. So he came home and I was just like, I couldn't cope. They were crying and oh my God, I just couldn't cope. And he was like, Kerry, are you all right? And I was like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And I was really like, you know, defensive. I was like, what do you mean? Why are you asking me? Am I fine? Of course I'm fine. And he was like, no, I just feel like there's something, Kerry. And he was like, I'm telling you now, I just feel like, you know, there's just something there now. And then I just burst out crying and I was like, yeah. And then he's
Relief.
like, I think you need to go to the counselor again. And I just said, yeah. And I just bawled crying then. And I was like, the relief, just
Yeah.
to say, yeah, I'm actually not okay.
Pressure cooker was building up and building up until,
Yes.
yeah.
And it was like,
Mm.
okay. No, I'm still mad saying it. And then I just said, right, I'll just send the email, get to this counselor again. And I had a couple of sessions with her, and it was kind of just chat, nothing too hectic. And then I think it was the second or the third sort of session, and she just said, do you think maybe you have a little bit of the baby blues, Kerry? And I just burst out crying. Then I was just like, thank God there's a name for this. Thank God there's
Mm.
a name for this. It was just like, oh, yeah.
And
Because
it's
I
so
kept
hard in
thinking
that
that,
moment as well,
yeah,
because you are, because you know, I remember when I had it with Eve, and it's like, you know, you have these beautiful children, you know, yeah, you have everything that's there, but yet you can't feel that, you know. So it
yeah,
is, when you get a name on it, whether it's postnatal depression, whether it's, you know, the blues, when you get something on it, it's like, again, like kind of where before when you went to the counselor and, you know, it was recognized. It's like that thing of, okay, it's real, you know.
yeah,
It's not just the hormones and everything that we keep flogging off to say, oh yeah, look, it's busy, it's busy. You know, when you get that reassurance that, you know, there's something else, something deeper, then
yeah,
that pressure cooker just releases and says, oh my God, thank God.
yeah. It
Yeah.
was. It was just like, thank God, because I kept thinking, oh God, do I have it? Do I have it? And then I'd be Googling about it, and it was just like, oh. And then just when she said it, it was just like, thank God someone's actually said it.
Yeah.
Um, and then she's like, okay, you know, just make an appointment with your GP and all of that kind of thing. So went into the GP and she prescribed me medication. Um, so she said, look, we'll, you know, I forget what you take for 6 months and then see how you're getting on. And then
Mm.
was doing the
Monitor it.
counselling alongside. So I was going, I must have went for about 2 years to the counsellor and I was taking the medication at the same time.
Hmm.
So basically, I was on it, and then I was weaned off it. So I suppose I was on it for about 1.5 years. So I was kind of doing the two alongside each other. And then that finished up then like 2 years later, 2 or 3 years later, and then my last session of the counselling, I found out then I was pregnant with my third child. So then I was like, okay, no, I'm going to be fine this time. I'm going to be fine this time. It's not going to get me. And I felt like in a really good place. Like I said, right, I'm not trying for another baby until I am 100% mentally. I just want
Mm.
to be really feeling well in myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but so I got pregnant again, and then slowly this dread started again, and I just felt, oh my God, I'm going to get this back again now. And like all these health concerns all start creeping in again. And I was going, oh my God, I can't believe this. I've done so much work, and I feel like, and then when I was 8 months pregnant, then I seen you had a thing up for, it was a throat chakra evening. And at the time, I was on thyroid medication during the pregnancy. So all I seen was thyroid.
Yeah, that's
So
lovely. Thyroid, yeah.
I was
Did you
like,
wear a
okay,
scarf
right.
that night? Was it you that wore the scarf?
Oh, my friend.
Your
Yeah,
friend?
yeah.
Well, they took off that scarf for doing throat chakra clearing. She wearing the scarf.
So basically, I seen and then I was like, oh God, will I go? I might much pregnant. Like, what am I thinking? It's all a bit mad, and I don't know what a chakra is. I don't even know what this is. No idea. And then, yeah. So actually, just before I seen the notification for this chakra healing touch, the words came into my head, which is never out of something like that has never happened to me before. But I heard the words healing touch, and there was a feather on the floor in my bedroom, and I was like, this is weird. I don't know what this is about. And then the next thing, ding, healing touch came up. That's what happened. And it was the throat chakra. And I was like, oh my God. So then I said, oh, Jesus Christ, I better go to this. Like, this must be something.
This was waiting for me.
Yeah. So then I met this lady who's my friend now, but my son and her son were in the same class. And she said, do you want to go for a coffee? We'd never gone for a coffee before. And I told her about this. And then she was like, sure, I'll come with you. So the two of us ended up going. And when I walked in, I was like, I don't know what the hell this is about. I had no idea. I just remember going in and we seen the angel cards on the chairs. And then we were like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what is this? Because I was like so afraid of cards. And I was like, oh
I
God.
think I remember you asking it again about. I think did you contact me saying was it okay if you were pregnant to come to
Yeah, I see. I was
yeah,
probably worrying then.
yeah,
So then you went around, you were putting your hands on and everything. And I think we were on a beach or something and closing our eyes. And I was like, oh my God, I could feel, I felt just amazing. I was like, what the hell is this like? Because you were like, I'm not going to do the proper thing. You were just sending love or whatever, but I could just feel it going through me. And it was just like a feeling I've never had. I was just like, I felt calm. I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I remember my friend then at the end, we were looking at the cards and she was like, what are these about now? And I said, would you stop now? Just stop with the cards. Like, and then she was like, oh, there's a book. We can read what they mean. And I said, stop now, stop. Like, and then she's like, come up, we'll go up to her now and we'll ask what they mean. And I said, oh, stop now. She's going to tell me something bad. Because I always used to have such a, this like, oh God, fortune telling and all this.
yeah,
This was
yeah,
my thing. So, anyways, then we went up to you and you were looking at the cards. And then you said to me, there's something, um, there's something bothering you. And I said, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's something bothering me.
right.
And then the next thing, then I just burst out crying and I was like, I'm afraid I'm going to get postnatal depression again. And then I was like, why am I saying this in a room full of strangers? But now we all know why.
Yeah,
And then like we had a chat for ages then, and then we came out of it, and me and my friend were like, oh my God, that was amazing. I just felt amazing, and we were buzzing after it. And then after that, I kind of didn't look into any more because like I had Sorka then a month later, and it was in my head all the time. I was like, oh my God, I want to find out more about this. So when she was about 6 months old, then lockdown happened,
yeah,
and you were doing the book The Magic. And then I was like, okay, right, what is this? Because I just need something, because I was really getting really anxious because it was just like, obviously the virus and my health and the baby, it was just
Yeah.
all
The fear that was,
here.
and the trauma it brought was huge that time,
Yeah.
like, Yeah.
So I knew I was like, all of my self-help books, all of these tools that I have in my toolbox are just not cutting it.
Yeah.
I just need something else. So I did the magic book for the 30 days. And during that, I just felt amazing. Like, just brought back all I realized that's what I was doing in that other book. Like, it was all coming back to me, the feeling I felt and everything. And then joined the inner circle, and did the pendulum course and the Reiki courses, and I think probably every single one of your courses at this stage.
You just brought my Ferrari outside.
Then
Like, let's say if we talk even just about the shift in the energy, so that's what that
yeah,
would have been when you felt that, when we were only doing the throat chakra. But obviously, if I had said that time that I wasn't going to do the full, because I would have sensed the fear, so I would have just sent the love, like, so.
yeah,
But it would have been a shift in energy, and your root chakra would have been blocked, so the energy would have been moving around, and then you had your 6 months, but something was drawing you back into the energy all the time.
yeah,
So now, even now, that you have done all the work, and I know you in the inner circle, you were one of our best people jumping on every Thursday, and it was amazing. Look at the support and everything, where we could cry, where we could laugh, where we could support. And I think that was probably something for you as well, because you're that beautiful energy. You have that healing energy, and that's what you were doing all your life, to be fair. You were that healer. But again, taking on energies and stuff like that. But where I'm going with that is that just your transition then. So let's say you did all of those courses, and some people do the courses, but they never really step into them. What changed for you when you knew that you want to go back to that clerical work, when the kids are all in school? What changed that you knew that you had to go down this road of helping others, even though you are, I
yeah,
always say it in the inner circle, and the best thing about the inner circle was, at one stage there was 100 and something of us in there, and we'd meet people at the shop, and we'd be thinking that we knew them and then we think, oh my God, this is the first time we've met in reality.
yeah.
But I suppose, when did that point come, or did it have to come, or did it just transition in that you said, you know what, I've been on this journey, and again, still have your stuff coming in and out of it, but using the tools that now I want to help others?
Yeah, I suppose during my time in the inner circle, I was fairly open. I would have been fairly writing essays I'm just an open book. And I suppose
Obviously, Kerry, I'm dyslexic now. I'm dyslexic. Like short messages, I'll be getting a
no
novel.
paragraphs, nothing, just keep going till 1 in the morning.
No full stops. I'm like, oh my God.
And I suppose I just noticed the more open I was, the more people were like, oh my God, yeah, Kerry, Jesus, I feel that. And it was helping them, I suppose. And then their stories were helping me. And it was like, and it came back to me like that, do you know, really, the more like people aren't that open about this kind of stuff. They're just
Mhm.
not. And I remember going back to when had postnatal depression. I felt like I don't know anybody with this, like nobody. And I was
You're the
kind
only
of the
one.
first one of my friends as well to kind of get pregnant. So they were all still in their crazy days. And I remember a neighbor, and I didn't really know her that well. I'd only talked to her a couple of times. She was like, I just found out, and she was like, "Do you want to come into my house for a cup of tea?" And I was like, "Okay, grand." And then I just told her, and then she said, "Oh, well, I had it as well," and she told me her story, and I was like, "Oh my God, thank God!"
Yeah.
And something that day, something said to me, I am going to tell everyone about this now. I'm going to tell everyone I have postnatal depression, and I'm not going to be ashamed of it, because I
Yeah.
know that absolutely changed my life when she told me that she had it.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, and I was on tablet, it was like I could just talk to her, like how I was feeling, all of this kind of stuff. then I was like telling everybody, I was like so open about it. And you know, some people would be like, "Oh, well, look, can I say it?" And I'm like, "No, like I want to talk about it. Like I've always
Mhm.
been open about it." So I suppose that's kind of the point where I realized my story would help people, but I never thought about helping people as a profession till I was
Mhm.
in the inner circle. And I suppose there was so many inspirational people in it kind of doing it, and I was like, God, I wonder could I actually help people. um and then I suppose like I've done, like, during my counseling sessions I did rap workshops and things
Yeah.
like
So
that.
tell us
It's
a
like,
little bit about the wrap, because that's very I did that, but I didn't do the training, but use the training done of it. So just tell people a little bit about that, because there could be somebody who just has never
yeah,
heard of it, because I had actually never heard of it until, we were speaking about it.
yeah.
Um, so just look, tell a little bit
So
about it and what it is.
yeah, so I was seeing my counselor for a good while, and then she said there's these rap workshops that were coming up, and it was, I think it was there was 2 full days and a half day. It was every Wednesday, and I was like, going, "Oh my god, what is this?" But basically, anyways, we went. And there was about 10 of us around a round table, but it was just so lovely to walk in. It wasn't. It was very informal, if you know what I mean. It was just relaxed. There was fruit, there was sweets on the table, and there was just such an atmosphere when you went in. But it was basically it's wellness recovery action plan. So you're going through what you're like when you're well. So you're kind of becoming self-aware. So you're like, what am I like when I'm well? And then when you realize what you're like when you're well, you're like, well, what's the signs that I'm not well?
Mm-hmm.
And what's my reactors, I suppose, what would trigger me, all of that kind of stuff. And then once you find out what you're like when you're not well, um so it's kind of just noticing. So
Mm-hmm.
you're noticing, you're becoming aware, but then you're getting your tools. So what keeps me well? So you're like, okay, what really like lifts me? So it'd be like meeting friends,
Yeah,
all this kind of
stand
stuff.
together.
So you're writing that all down. And then, then you're kind of making a daily maintenance plan then. So, okay, what do I need to do every single day to keep my energy up here? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like just wash yourself, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
down to the
absolutely.
basics, absolute
Dress
basics,
yourself for some, brush your teeth for some
every
people.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
basic. Um and then it was like kind of, to get people very close to you to kind of, to have an open conversation. If you want to say, right, this is when I'm going downhill, I want you to kind of become aware of my signs, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you how to help me,
Yeah,
which
like
was a big one
essential.
because people say the wrong things and all that. And it's like, okay, I don't want you to talk about it. I just want, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I don't want you to ask me, am I okay every 2 minutes? But I do want you to know I'm just not feeling great today. Or, that kind of, it's just, you're kind of more in control of it, so that when you're really, really not feeling great and you can't communicate because you're so upset
Mm-hmm.
or you're so overwhelmed, and you can't say, you're doing my head in, please stop doing, that's not helpful, you know what I mean? That isn't helpful. It's just like
And it's on the
kind of,
plan.
yeah, it's all
Yeah,
there.
it's all there. Yeah.
um so, and then it was just like you had a positivity jar, and it's just really just positive, and it was all just about minding yourself, and you just felt like you were minded when you were in there. There's a real
Mm-hmm.
kind of sense of that.
So nurturing, really,
um
wasn't it? I found it was really
yeah,
nurturing.
it really was, yeah. um and after it I was just like, oh my God, I just felt so much more in control, is
Mm-hmm.
what. And then, like, I would notice, like, oh, I started doing that again now. Oh, I didn't know. It's like, so I know if I'm not bothered about my hair, I'm going downhill, like, which wouldn't be someone else's thing, but it would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
mine.
Everybody's different. Yeah,
But it's
absolutely.
like so personal that
Yeah,
when you went round the table, someone's thing when they're not well was when they were well, nearly. It's so different.
yeah,
Um, that I just could pick myself,
yeah.
way quicker. It
And I
really,
think that's the good thing about that, is because it was individual. So,
Mm,
look at, we all need to go to doctors and we all need to see doctors and stuff like that. But sometimes it's just in a, oh, that one trick pony kind of thing, whereas this was like, this is your plan.
mm,
It helps you as an individual. They're your feelings, they're your thoughts. It's you that's nurtured. And it's and you take it home with you. And just based on that one you were saying as well about the spouses and the family. Because sometimes, we have to be real sometimes, because they've never experienced it,
yeah,
because they've never ever, dealt with it, because everybody has their own stuff. They don't understand it and they don't know how to support.
no,
So having that for them to say, okay, well, this is where she's at. This is, when this is how she feels in that moment, and this is what I need to do. It's actually a relief for them. I seen that,
yeah,
when I was working with
definitely.
the partners. It's like it was actually a relief for them to actually know what to do.
Yeah,
It's
because they
huge,
just
yeah.
feel helpless, like, and you do when you have someone else in that situation, you just feel completely helpless
Yeah,
because you know you don't know the right or the wrong thing to say, and it just
yeah,
helps both people. It really
absolutely,
does.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you went on to do the training of it.
Went on to do the training of that, and that was amazing. Yeah, just so many different ways that you can, work with it, and just I think everyone just needs a daily maintenance plan. Just
100%. I see it. I send it out
yeah,
with every client that leaves. I give them a plan. Now, whether they stick to the full plan or not, you have to make it work for you.
yeah,
But just to have something there to say, I'm going to do this in the morning, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And it doesn't have to be the full, brush the teeth. It depends where they are, obviously. You know
yeah,
yourself, it depends where
exactly.
you are on that journey.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so it's powerful. So you bring that in now with your clients. So you bring it in with your energy work, when you're doing the energy work for your clients
yeah,
online. And
yeah,
is it all yours online at the minute?
yeah. All
Yeah,
online at the minute.
all
Yeah,
online
yeah,
at the minute. And then you do the energy work. And do you love that because you experienced that, and the shift in the energy that you got, that they're going to receive.
yeah. Because I all of the rap, all of that was it really did get me so far. But that was the last bit. That was the bit, the energy shifting the blocks and all the energy. That was just like, it was kind of like I was kind of wallpapering or I was working on the outside, but it kept all this stuff kept creeping in until I actually started doing the energy work. And, I had so much awareness and everything, but it was just when you do actually experience a feeling of inner peace is what I would
Yeah,
call it.
yeah,
That is what it's that you get so far, but this inner peace was what the last piece, I suppose, if
yeah.
you know what I mean,
Because
that
you're
I got.
releasing them from their original hurts, and you're
Yeah,
moving the energy around your body. And we have to remember about trauma and your root chakra. That just is stuck, and then you're moving all of this, so you're going to feel lighter and raising consciousness and everything.
yeah,
And it's funny because when you were saying it earlier, that things started to happen and you got engaged. And I'm like, I can see Kerry moving in consciousness. But again,
mm,
we had the pathological emotions, and the subconscious mind was trying to keep you safe in that control. So
yeah,
anytime then anything that you felt out of control, the subconscious mind brought up that get the numbers, get this, make sure you do this because you'll be safe. But the energy
yeah,
started to move that then, you see. So it's like, oh, I'm safe now. There's peace here. There's
yeah,
happiness in my body. And obviously then your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system started to go, oh, with the meditations and everything, like.
yeah, and
So do you just love doing it for people now?
yeah, I do. I love when I meet someone like myself who doesn't know, and then I'm telling them, and then they're just like, "What?" And it's just like I was kind of going, "What the hell is this about?" But Jesus, she seems to be enjoying herself. You know what I mean? Because people obviously are seeing the change in me, and they're like, "God, you look great!"
Yeah.
And I suppose I've lost weight and so much with like the weight, like a stone fell off me like at the
Yeah.
beginning with.
And that's I always say about weight, because I love doing weight release with hypnotherapy, but I always say sometimes it's not that we have, because people, and even for me, I say, oh Jesus, I don't know why I'm so heavy, but because Christ above tonight, I don't eat anything. I'm starving myself and I still have the weight on. But it's a protection.
Yeah.
It's a protection. We need to hold on to it in case we, and I always see it, whether it's energy work, whether it is hypnotherapy, whether it is, again, just coaching, the weight will release once we let go. Once
Yeah.
we let go and start to relax in and feel calm and feel safe, then your subconscious mind will let go of all of those things about holding on. And we just release that. We've seen that with you. Like, that was amazing, and you kept it all off everything, so it's just, and again, the behaviors and the habits, they all changed.
Oh yeah, big time. Like massively. Like just really the last while I'm just like I do feel like a different person. Like it's just yeah, you can see things coming, but you're like it's just different. It's the reactions, my automatic responses are different now.
Yeah.
I'm doing it without, whereas at the beginning I was like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it, or. But now it's kind of because it's habitual, I suppose. Now it's like a habit. But it is all just
And it's
keep
positive.
going. You're going to have fall into the hole, as they say, but you're not going to stay in it as long. And then you're going to be out of it for ages. And there is going to
Because
be
you have your
times where
tools.
stuff happens, but, you just do deal with things a lot more.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
do always say to that, like, when we come into healing and when we come into stuff like that, people do say, oh, Sharon, you're so lucky. Like, you don't have any of this stuff. I'm like, really? Really? So I still have SHID, I still have all of this stuff going on. And some days I might stay in it for 24 hours. I never let myself out after 48 hours, and that's what I do always say to you as well. Don't stay in it for too long, because there's somebody always there to support you. But it's the tools, it's the planning. It's to have that plan. And I would, since I did rap, I would always have a plan. I said, okay, there's a plan on a Sunday. What's going to happen throughout the week? If I get knocked off kilter, if something comes in, like it does for everybody, might come off it for a day or two, but I'll always go back to the plan. So, Kerry, it's just been a pleasure. So, what I would like you to just, with everything, again, how far you've come, have you one little piece of information or just a piece of knowledge, if anybody's listening, that just might need something, um, and from your journey, that might create that change for them? What would you say that is?
I would say to definitely to start putting yourself first, because you think you're being selfish by not doing that. But and I'm like a broken record because I say it all the time, but it's just true. Like it is
Yeah,
what it is. Um, if you like, you think, oh my God, I'll do this for everyone, and then I'll do this for myself, and you think you're being great to them, but actually you're giving them nothing. They're getting nothing off you because you've nothing to give.
yeah,
So until you actually give to yourself, you cannot help anybody else. And you need to just get into your head, I'm helping others by helping myself. Like it's not selfish. It's absolutely necessary. Like
absolutely.
it doesn't work the reverse. And sometimes I do fall into the, oh no, I'll do this. And then I'm like, no, it just doesn't work. Like everyone, like I know when everyone in the house is like, "Rah!" And I'm like, I'm doing everything for everyone. What's wrong with them? And it's like, because you did nothing for yourself and they're just
That
not
is a
feeding up to your
perfect
high five.
example. I
Yeah,
love
they're
that,
not,
because that's
yeah,
what it is. Absolutely, what you said there. You do, when we say it, we hear ourselves saying it, and all mothers and then some fathers will say it as well. I do everything for everybody. I'm doing everything for everybody. Ollie, what's wrong with you? Then you're thinking, I know what's wrong. Not doing it for myself. Brilliant, Kerry. So, Kerry, you can reach Kerry. I'll put it up on the link anyways. Kerry's Healing Hub. Again, energy work and plans, wellness plans and everything like that. You know, I've seen her growth. I've seen her powerful growth and amazing growth. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you, like, for everything that you've done and everything that you continue to do for people, because I've seen the people that you've helped as well.
thank
Um,
you.
And it's just, you're just
And
amazing.
thank you
You're amazing.
for
So
everything.
yeah. So look at wishing you all the best, for sure. I know anyways, because we'll be on the journey together anyway. So won't get rid of it that quickly. But thank you so much, for giving everybody that information. And, I know that if there's anybody out there that's struggling, reach out.
Yeah,
Even just again, I actually just did a thing there this evening for Kelly's school, and it was just like, it's okay not to be okay, but always ask for help. That is the
definitely.
one thing, always ask for the help. And we mightn't always we mightn't always be put on the path straight away.
Hmm.
But the path will eventually, and I can promise you that, and Kerry can say the same thing, the path that you're meant to be on will eventually find you. Or you
Yeah,
find it, whatever comes first. It's a bit like, Kerry having that voice in her head, or having a voice in her head, but that that thought of healing touch. Some people might say that's a bit mental, like, but it is what it is.
it
It's
is what it is.
just, these things, that we're given those little bit of nuggets, but we're so caught up in the head that we're not hearing them, we're not seeing them. So the more that we slow down, the more that we relax, the more that, we take care of ourselves, the more that we hear. So on that note, thank you everybody for listening. And I thank you so much, Kerry, again.
Thanks, my
And
dear.
I will see you all on the next podcast. Thanks a million. Bye.